This video is on the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor. So a couple of definitions before we get started on some examples. Our first two definitions are the definition for factor and the definition for greatest common factor. So we need to remind ourselves that a factor is a number multiplied by another number to get a product. So for example, 2 times 2 equals 4. Well, 2 was multiplied by 2 to get a product 4. So that means that 2 is a factor of 4 because we multiplied 2 to 2 to get 4. So a factor is a number multiplied by another number to get a product. So the greatest common factor is the largest common factor of 2 or more given numbers. So whenever you're asked to find the greatest common factor, you will always be given 2 or more numbers. Okay? So whenever you have two numbers and it asks for the GCF, then you know that you're looking for the greatest common factor because GCF stands for greatest common factor. So when you see the letters GCF, you have two choices for finding the greatest common. Okay? You have method A and method B, and I will give you an example of each method. So methods for finding the GCF, greatest common factor. Our first method, method A, says for you to find all factors of each number and then determine the common factor that is the largest. Method B says to use a factor tree to find the prime factors. Compare and find the common primes. Okay? So method A, we're going to use a T method, and method B, we use the tree method to find the primes. Okay? So our first example using method A, this is find the GCF of 12 and 24. So we want to find the greatest common factor of 12 and 24. So method A says that we have to list all of the factors. Okay? So I'm going to list all of the factors of 12. Well, I know that 1 times 12 is 12, so 1 and 12 are factors of 12. I also know that 2 times 6 is 12. So 2 and 6 are also factors of 12. Well, then I also know that 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 and 4 are factors of 12. So the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So the number 12 has 6 factors. Okay? Alright, so now the factors of 24. Well, I know that 1 times 24, so this gives me two factors, 1 and 24. But I also know that 2 times 12 equals 24, and 3 times 8 equals 24, and 4 times 6 equals 24. So the number 24 has the factors 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. So the number 24 has 2, 4, 6, 8 factors, and 12 only has 6 factors. So we want to know, well, what is the greatest common factor that both of these numbers share? So first we need to identify, well, the common factors. Well, they both have 1. They both have a factor of 1. They both have 2 as a factor. They both have 3 as a factor. They both have 4 as a factor. They both have 6 as a factor. And they both have 12 as a factor. Okay? So 12 and 24 have in common the factors 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So of those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12, 12 is the largest number. Okay? So that means that it's the greatest common factor. So if we look back at our definition, the greatest common factor, the largest common factor. And of 12 and 24, the largest common factor is 12. Okay? Now, method B. Using a factor tree, we're going to find the GCF of 12 and 24. Alright, so for 12, I know that 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 is 2 times 2. So I have finished my tree because I'm down to only primes, okay? So that means that the prime factorization of 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. And again, I just like writing my lower numbers first, even though I see 3 on the tree first. I have 2 times 2 times 3. Alright, so for 24, we had several different ways, factors that we can multiply together to get 24. I'm going to use 2 and 12. So 2 times 12. So 2 is a prime. I cannot go any further. So I can branch off of 12 because 12 is 2 times 6. Okay? Then I'm done here with this 2. It's a prime, but I can keep going with 6. And 6 is 2 times 3. So my prime factors of 24 are 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write those. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So now the second part of method B, after we use the factor tree to find the prime factors, we compare the prime factors and we find we find what they have in common, okay? So 12 and 24 both have these 2's in common. They both have these 2's in common. And notice there's not another 2 on the 12 row, so I can't use this 2. But notice there's a 3 in the 12 row and a 3 in the 24, which means that 3 is also a number they have in common. So I use the numbers they have in common, which was the number 2, the number 2, and the number 3. And I multiply those numbers together. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 24 is 12. So showing the method A, we listed all of the factors, we compared all of the factors, and then we found the largest. Using method B, we used the factor tree to find the prime factors. We determined which prime factors they had in common, and we multiplied those common factors together to get the greatest common factor. And either method is fine to use. Just remember that if you're using method A, you have to come up with every single possible factor to make sure that you have your list. With method B, you only need to know at least one set, like 2 times 12. And you can still get your greatest common factor. But using the T method, we have to know that 2 times 12 is factors, and 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. So some students may choose to use method B. Either method is fine, as long as you know how to use it and you feel comfortable with it.